We had a great question here from David on Discord when I asked for some questions for this live stream. He's saying, now just moved on to level 7 of the beginner's course, having spent some time trying to consolidate the previous levels. Good man. I've got to an F bar chord, but I'm not worrying too much about that. Good man. Now I've done the C major scale with no problems at all. My fundamental question is, what can we actually do with scales? I understand that to compose, you need to understand the theory of how the music works. But for a simple player of existing music, what is the application in addition to being good dexterity and practice-wise, so finger dexterity? If it helps with what you can and can't do just playing around, can you please show me a simple example? I think the previous clip of me kind of playing the along to Favourite by Fontaine's DC, and then like not just playing that lead line, but then improvising some stuff and then playing basically other full solos such as Where Is My Mind, and even I believe in a thing called Love I was playing there, a little bit of the Cure lead lines as well. Putting all those into the key of E, or playing other songs in the key of E, or all using the E major scale. All that kind of thing, just basically putting everything in E. I think that answers that question, but I understand that that's a bit higher level than level 7 of the beginner's course. So let me answer your question specific to exactly where you are now, which is, yeah, you don't have to focus too much on it beyond the scales that are covered in the course. So the C major scale, if you can play that with no problems at all, here's what you can do. You can play open C major based around a C major chord like this. That's 1 octave. And you can play that. What does that enable you to do? To my mind, there's lots of songs that you can now embellish, even something as simple as Let It Be. Something like that. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. That's a very simple example, but it's a good one for exactly where you're at, David. Other examples that come in, like C major is actually the same scale as A minor. So that even makes me think of like, oh, wow, there's so many songs coming to mind now. All the kind of all the little lead lines from lots of REM songs, even kind of and it might not be right now, but that's using a lot of notes. That, in that case, from the E minor pentatonic, which is a one that's covered in this in the course that you're doing now. But let me answer this a totally other way. Let me answer this from what I heard from another David, or Big Dave, who was an attendee of many of the guitar breaks that I've done. And the way that he put it was a key song for him to learn, or a key solo, was the main solo from Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. So, you know. Etc., etc. So he's like, right, I'm determined. I'm just going to take it note for note, learning from the tab, and I'm going to learn all of this. And he said he spent about a year trying to learn that. through no help from, he didn't have one-to-one lessons. He wasn't following any program or anything. He was just like, I'm determined to learn this. And he got it somewhere near. It was like, all right, but after a year, he still wasn't happy with it. And then about 6 months after that, he learnt that all that solo, that whole thing is using a very common run of the A minor pentatonic scale, which is literally, or the C major pentatonic, but which is the same notes as the A minor. And it's like just C major, A minor. He was like, bloody hell, if I'd have learned that first, I'd have had all this down like a super highway, like I teach it in the intermediate course that's just released. And learning that run would have been a lot easier. Another example is a video that I released quite recently called 10 Songs with the E minor pentatonic scale. I say quite recently. I think I released this right at the start of the year back in January, but I'll leave a link to it. And this did 10 songs, right, starting literally with, I think one of them that we do is literally... essentially a 2-note riff, 20th Century Boy by T-Rex. Just using 2 notes, but from the E minor pentatonic. Another example would be Fever. The version by the Cramps is in E. Never knew how much I loved you. Never knew how much I cared. When you put your arms around me, I got a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever, etc., etc. Another one is Jimmy Page's, one of Jimmy Page's favourite songs, which massively influenced him. That really cool run, that literally runs down the full 2 octaves, not just 1 octave, of the E minor pentatonic scale. I mean, these notes come from somewhere, but they don't teach you everything. As all a scale is just the alphabet. There's more than one alphabet, just like there's more than one scale, but it does only teach you kind of the notes to put in order. Put it this way, if you wanted to learn French and you learned the French alphabet, which I speak a tiny bit of French, I couldn't tell you what the French alphabet is for sure. Would you be able to speak French if you learned the French alphabet? No. If you wanted to learn Greek, you learned the Greek alphabet. Could you then be fluent in Greek? No. It's only teaching you half of it. So scales want to be learned in context, but I think a really cool thing, there are these really common ones that we keep coming back to. E minor pentatonic. That's Shaking All Over by Johnny Kidd and the Pirates. That uses the same notes as so many of all. This one, Rumble by Link Ray, uses the same notes as and that uses a lot of the same notes as, or is from the same scale as. Ooh, that's hard to dig out on my Gretsch. And that uses the same notes as. Might not seem like it, but. Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, Shaking All Over, still from these same notes. So you see more of the repetition of the same stuff. Bit like when we speak English, we do use an awful lot of the same words, right? Adrian commented on that, said, I've enjoyed learning scales, been practicing improvisation too. That's fun. And it is a lot more freeing because improvisation involves a lot less reading tab and a lot more just doing in flow state, which is really fun. Rick says, this is what confuses me though. How do you use a scale? Are there specific chords in each scale that we used? Big topic that's kind of covered in my lead guitar course, but also a lot of that is covered throughout the main beginner and intermediate syllabuses at the right point. That's what I feel I've done there. Just checking in with the other comments that we got here. This is from Steve. One good use of scales is that you are guaranteed that all the notes go together nicely, which is why when soloing, you often find that the notes played are in the same scale, and you almost don't need to think about it. Yeah, total case in point. That level 2 second jam track, like the C major to A minor, F, even to F minor. That jam track. Let me play it. Yeah, that sounds nice. So let me try this. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So that kind of full flow state thing, like Steve says, one good use of scales is that you're guaranteed that all the notes go nicely together, which is why when soloing, you often find that the notes played are in the same scale. You almost don't need to think about it. Here's an example. Not reading any tab, kind of having fun with it. The only time that stops being a thing, that will be an even bigger part of the electric guitar syllabus, intermediate electric, than it is of intermediate acoustic.